Hello, good morning. Today we're going to read In My Mama's Kitchen. I'll read to you the summary on the back. From the Saturdays when the aunts gathered to make the biggest pot of soup in town to gathering round Gran Lee's stove on a cold winter afternoon, all kinds of fun and warm memories are cooked up in Mama's kitchen. Award-winning author Jardine Nolan invites young readers to share in the joy of this most heartwarming of places. With glowing illustrations by Colin Bootman, In My Mama's Kitchen is a joyous celebration of African American families and mamas everywhere. So, this new book set we're under, let me grab my sheet, is connecting across generations and family. So you're going to be noticing that all of these are about family and people connecting across different generations, which means like grandmas and uncles and great grandmas and so forth. Alrighty. Some families think that the kitchen is the best room in the house. Why do you think that would be? I want you to think about that before we start. Why would the kitchen be the best room in the house? That is going to be your question at the way end to answer. In my mama's kitchen. To my sisters Kate and Shiki and Teeny. To Samantha Chin and her family. To Earl Campbell, Miss Gloria, and Patricia. And to the staff at August Ashhorn, Jean, Yvelle, and Caroline. First in line. Seems like everything good that happened in my house happens in my mama's kitchen. Like the day Nadine burst in waving a letter over her head. I got it, she yelled. I got it. What? I shouted back. What did you get? Nadine held the letter over her heart and closed her eyes. She read the whole thing without even looking at it. Dear Miss Jeffries, I'm pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to our university on a 4-year music scholarship. We did a dance around Nadine. Mama and Daddy hugged each other real tight. Then Nadine got out her clarinet and played Daddy's favorite song, This Little Light of Mine. Daddy sang a made-up song about Nadine being the first person in our family to go to college. This little daughter of mine, first in the family line. This little daughter of mine, she made it to college time. This little daughter of mine, first to be in line, going to college, see her shine. I felt so proud. I stood on a chair and saluted her. So this must be the older sister, and then this must be the older sister, this must be the narrator, and then this is mom and dad. The wedding. My friend Naomi made all the plans. We held Emma's wedding in the sunniest part of Mama's kitchen, right under the window. We marched her down the aisle between Mama's African violets. Jane was supposed to be the groom, but she squirmed and meowed and wiggled out of her wedding clothes. Then she hid right behind the stove. We had the reception anyway. Tea cakes and ice-cold buttermilk. The groom came back when she saw the buttermilk. Talking pots. On the Saturday, Mama and her sisters do Talking Pots Day. I stay close by. Aunt Katie, Aunt Gloria, and Aunt Ludy always arrive together. Each one is carrying her biggest stewing pot in one arm and shopping bags in the other. The bags Aunt Ludy carries are full of vegetables. Aunt Gloria's bags are filled with meats and sausages and always one odd package at a time, or on the top. We all know what's inside, the biggest soup bone in town. Aunt Katie bags hold extra cutting boards, knives, vegetable peelers, and bowls and spoons. She pulled them out. Then she holds up Gran Lee's metal coffee pot. I'll make the coffee. In moments, every hand is busy. Nadine and Mama are washing vegetables when Mama begins to hum a melody that has no words. Then Aunt Ludy joins her in a deep, low tones. Aunt Katie and Aunt Gloria chime in with high-pitched harmony. The air is full of humming. Their hands are flying. I think they cook like hummingbirds. Just as easy as the music started, it turns to talk. Remember the time you told me the insides of the human body smell like fresh pineapple? Aunt Ludy asked as a carrot peeling fly into her bag. I got laughed right out of the 7th grade science class that day. Remember how Mama bragged about the way I chop onions? Says Aunt Gloria as her knife ka-chunks on the cutting board. Always minced so nice and fine and never a tear, she sighs, shaking her head. How about the time you made my Easter dress on the sewing machine now? Aunt Katie, seeding tomatoes, says to Mama. Not one of you had the heart to tell me that hem was 4 inches longer in back than it was in front. I couldn't figure out what Reverend Taylor looked at me so funny when he shook my hand. All day the kitchen is busy and full and cozy. Even the African violets are blooming, just like my aunts. Why do you think that they said that their aunts are blooming? Maybe because they are really happy? Great Aunt Caroline. When Great Aunt Caroline came to spend her 95th birthday with us, Daddy was glad. I wasn't. Why do we always have to be so quiet around Aunt Caroline? I asked Mama. She's very old, Mama said. That didn't seem like a very good reason to me. Great Aunt Caroline wasn't used to cats, so Jane had to sleep in the basement. Great Aunt Caroline wasn't used to children underfoot, so Naomi couldn't come over. And Great Aunt Caroline always sat in my chair and called it her chair. She was still sitting there when I cleared the table one morning. Henry, her walking stick, rested on her lap. I figured she was watching to make sure I did a good job, but by the time I had finished, her eyes were closed. She sat completely still. It didn't look like she was even breathing. Had she died? I held my own breath as I leaned over to look in her face. Suddenly, she opened one eye, just like Janie. Boo, she shouted. Gotcha, I made you look. Ha 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 ha. Later, when we went for a walk, she called her walking out to the backyard friend. Jane's apples. Every October, Mama makes crab apple jelly. I wash the apples, Nadine peels them, Mama cooks them, and we all fill the jars. It gets pretty busy, so usually Jane hides being behind the stove. Usually, but not this time. This time she marched into the middle of the kitchen and jumped on top of the basket of apples. Mama shooed her, but she wouldn't get down. I put her on the floor, but she jumped right back up and rolled around. Shoo, Janie, I scolded. She batted an apple, then another and another. I think she thought the apples were mice. Just as I reached down to pick her up again, she batted one mouse too many. The basket fell over, and the apples came crashing down around her. Apples rolled all over the floor. I tripped and fell right on top of Janie. Janie howled. Mama dropped a pot of water. Nadine screamed and grabbed for the mop. But then Janie was frantic. She ran around the kitchen, but she kept running into apple baskets. She knocked every single one over. Then she slid through the puddle of water and crashed into the wall. Just then we heard Daddy at the door. Janie scrambled to her feet, let out a wild meow, and flew outside right behind his legs. He stared after her. Then he stared at the mess in the kitchen. Finally, he looked at the three of us. Cat got everyone's tongue? He asked. We all burst out laughing. What does that mean, cat got your tongue? Someone's got your tongue. Do you think you can talk? No. So when they say cat's got your tongue, they just mean that you can't talk. Most of the time we say the kitchen in Mama's. We say the kitchen in Mama's. But when Daddy makes corn pudding, it belongs just to him. At the first crackle of the falling leaves, he announces, "It's getting to be corn pudding time." As soon as the first frost covers the ground, he rubs his hands together and sniffs the air. He says, "I can almost smell the corn pudding cooking right up now." By the time the pumpkins have all become sagging jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkin pies, Daddy has taken over the kitchen. Watching Daddy make the corn pudding is a lot better than actually eating it, while he turns the handle of Mama's old-fashioned egg beater. He sighs, "La cucaracha," and dances the cha-cha. While he sifts and stirs, measures the mixes, pours and pinches, he sings and dances the tango right across the kitchen floor. He says as he slides the corn pudding into the oven. "This is going to be the best one yet." Then he picks me up, and we twirl and swirl around the room. Corn pudding has never been a favorite dessert of mine, but when Daddy presents it at the dinner table wearing that smile of his and humming, "Glory Hallelujah," having to eat it is worth it. Winter and the Grand Lee. In winter, when I come home from school, the warm kitchen fogs the windows. I hug Mama from behind, and she says, "Hello, sweet potato pie. How was your school today?" Then she drops a taste of peach cobbler into my mouth, and peach juice dribbles down my chin. "Stand close to Gran Lee and warm the shivers off," she tells me. Then we talk about my day while she stirs a pot of greens, turns the fried chicken, and mixes a bowl of cornbread batter. Chum, chum, chum. Mama's wooden pan scrapes against the bowl. But before she can put the cornbread into the oven, she jiggles and shakes the door handle. "I don't think I'll remind Daddy that the handle is still broken," she says to me. I smile. Gran Lee was Mama's stove, and she doesn't want a new one. Neither do I. Nighttime serenades is the next one. Oh, can you see it? Sometimes in the middle of the night, I wake up. When the house is dark and quiet, I can count the ticks of the clock. 493, 494. I go in the kitchen for something to eat, something Daddy and Jane are already there. We sit and snack together on whatever we like. Sometimes we make sandwiches out of leftovers and have ice cream and cookies. We giggle and munch and try not to wake the others. We talk in whispers and make big gestures, but Daddy isn't all that good at being quiet. Clang bang, a lid falls off the floor. Soon Mama and Nadine are in the kitchen too, and Daddy doesn't have to whisper anymore. "Now that we're all here, how about a story?" Daddy asks. Then he starts the way he always starts. When I was a little boy, down on the farm, after the story comes songs. Daddy calls them serenades for sleepless nights. We sit around the table, talking and singing and laughing, just like that's what everyone does in the middle of the night. When I finally start to yawn, I know for sure that everything's good that happens in my house happens in Mama's kitchen. All right, we're going to review this in a week and do some activities with it. But for today, I want you to answer the question in Seesaw. Some families think that the kitchen is the best room in the house. Why would that be? Why would someone think that that is the best room in the house? Respond to that in Seesaw. And you guys have a good day.